feel different when you get it out the mud.
How you guys doing? Welcome back to Conversations Over Chess. It has been quite a day already. I'm excited to have this young lady on the show. You guys may not know, but this is actually take two of this. This is actually take two. Technical difficulties in the beginning. We're not going to worry about that. Coming to the stage and the platform today is a young lady who I'm jealous of. She has traveled the world, lived in multiple countries, and that's something that I aspire to do someday. Without further ado, the lovely Megan. How you guys doing? How you doing, young lady?
Thank you so much for having me on the show.
Listen, take two. I felt like we had like a practice round of this.
Yeah, we had a proper good chat.
We're not holding microphones, which means that is an indicator that we're going to play a game of chess. White goes first in chess, and as my guest, you'll make the first move. As you make your first move, the question that I want to ask is a simple one. Who is Megan?
Who is Megan?
Yes.
Oh, man. You know, I don't think there ever is like a right answer for that. You know, I think we're constantly evolving into the person that we're meant to be, you know. Right now, like, Megan has just moved to Newburgh, and Megan's trying to just figure out what life is like back in New York, you know, like figure out who am I in this place, in this environment, in this like very new chapter, it feels like in my life. So it kind of feels I'm almost at the start of another becoming, you know, but that's also something that's always a process and yeah, it's just a beautiful journey, you know, like as cheesy as that sounds, it's not like I'm this, you know, I've made it, you know, but um, yeah, it's just all an adventure, isn't it?
Okay. So coming back to New York, how much of a culture shock, if at any at all, has it been for yourself? Because where are you coming and moving back from for the audience?
Yeah, so I was living in the UK for 10 years, and kind of between that, I spent a couple years in Guatemala as well. So I'd come home for maybe Christmas or, you know, yeah, for maybe a week or two. So I wasn't expecting it to really be a culture shock, but it has been it's been a massive culture shock, you know, something I wasn't really, I think, prepared for, but I'm trying to roll with it.
Culture shock in which way specifically?
I think like everyone kind of, it's just it's not a big enough shot. Like the difference isn't right. If you're going to Indonesia, you know what Indonesia's it's gonna be a massive culture shock, like so different.
Yes.
In the UK, right, like the accent's a little bit different. Accent's a little bit messed up, right? And the way like the cars are on the different side, and the way people call different things, like you don't call it the trash cans, like the bin, you know.
Yeah.
And so it's those tiny little things that I've found hard to kind of wrap my head around, just because they're so small, but they're like daily ways of interacting with your worlds.
Definitely. I always pride myself as being a well-traveled individual. And the one thing that I appreciate the most about traveling so much is the cultural differences and the cultural norms. It has allowed me to appreciate a place like a Salt Lake City, Utah, which may not be more like prominently black in a sense, but it is something that I have come to appreciate because I experience personally their culture, why they maneuver, why they do certain things. So I guess the question that I want to ask you is what appreciation have you found while traveling the world and experiencing different cultures, and how important is that to other individuals?
That's a good question. I mean, I think traveling will always enrich your spirit. Like you will always, whenever you travel, you will always learn something, and it's never going to be something that you expect, right? You go on holiday and you kind of think you have this idea, and that's much like life. You have this idea of what things are going to be like these expectations. But I think often like the universe has something even better in store for you. And so it's like this unveiling of these unexpected wonders of what the world has to offer, you know, and it's usually the conversations that you have over, you know, and you're sitting at dinner and you're talking to someone that you weren't expecting to ever talk to, and you hear their story and you
Yeah.
realize actually the common humanity, but that you're in a totally different environment as well. You know, it's so beautiful and something that you can't really explain, but just like the feeling you get when you're out and you're at a beach in a different part of the world and you're dancing and you're making
Mm-hmm.
these connections and um, learning about yourself being alone in another environment and finding maybe undiscovered parts of yourself. Like, it's beautiful. You know, I recommend to anyone, like, just get on a plane, you
Yeah.
know.
I definitely believe that exposure leads to expansion. That's something that a
Mhm.
former NFL player said, and I love it so much because I believe it to be true. How much has the being exposed to those different things expanded your mind, and in what ways has it been expanded, if that makes sense?
Yeah, I think it really humbles you, first of all.
Yeah.
Damn, you're whooping my ass already. This game. It humbles you because I think when you live in a small world, it's like I'm the center of the universe.
Hmm.
And I think when you go out and see the world, you just realize how big it really is, you know, and we're not the center of the universe, you know, and to remain humble about that because other people have things to offer too,
Yeah.
you know, and trying to more listen and be of service and just show up and like try to take in what another culture, another place has to offer rather than feeling like I have all the answers and my way is the right way. I think it like
Yeah.
expands that kind of perspective.
A friend of mine, well, really my ex girlfriend, she said something that was pretty. She learned it from I think her aunt or something like that. But she said that you're not the most important character in everybody's story. And when
Hmm.
she said that, I was like, damn, that's a bar because it's true.
Yeah.
A lot of times we often think that like the world revolves around us.
Hmm.
And that's one thing that I enjoy about traveling is because a lot of the things that us average day Americans do or think about or think that's most important, nobody even cares about.
It's not that deep.
It's
Yeah, it's not
not.
that deep.
Like
Like,
across the pond, even in different states, they don't care. And that's one
yeah.
thing that I enjoyed about my travels is that, as my boy would put it, he's like, bro, why you always going to these white states? And I'm like, bro, first off, they're just states. They're not just white states.
Yeah.
Relax. And then secondly, it's just like, I'm not scared to go experience something just because I watch a Netflix show or a Netflix movie on FLDS. That's not going to jade me to go see what Salt Lake City, Utah is actually about in real person,
Yeah,
in real
for
life.
real.
And when you go out there, you see people have one wife with one child and da 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 da. It's not the extremist. So that's literally theatrical. Yes, it may be
Yeah.
true, but that's that, bro.
I had everyone say the same thing before I went to Turkey. You know, they said because they were like, "There's all this stuff going on in the news and this and
Yep.
that." And honestly, the when I went to Turkey, it was probably the kindest culture I'd ever encountered, and everyone was so helpful and respectful. It was just so I didn't feel uncomfortable for 1 second,
Yeah.
you know? And there's all this stuff in the news saying this, and that. And it's like, go experience it yourself and then come up with your own opinion,
Yes,
you
and I
know?
often
Like,
encourage anybody who's watching and listening this to please go do that because to have somebody's other jaded experience
hmm,
be the end thing or the end all be all for your own personal one
yeah,
has never been anything. Like even in my whole like religious journey, I'm like, yo, I go to church, I believe in Jesus, but let me actually see what the Bible say for myself because he might not be interpreting it the way I interpret. Like every
yeah,
part of my journey have always been like, yeah, that's how it is. All right, I'm gonna go check for myself. I'm gonna make sure the
yeah,
sky blue. Hold on, let me go see the. Oh yeah, it's blue. You're right. It is blue today. So it's like I've
yeah,
always encouraged that for people because I feel like that holds people back sometimes.
absolutely. Like trying to live without judgment. And I think when you
Yeah,
experience it yourself and you realize actually it's not maybe the way other people said it, it helps kind of like relinquish all that twisted perspective of this like things are specifically this way. It's like no, there's actually a lot of ways of looking at
yeah.
something which can be applied to all areas of your life, you know.
No, for sure, for sure. One question I want to pivot to a little bit is relationships. You
Mhm.
spoke about, I'm glad that you had actually mentioned it, but you spoke about like learning yourself
Mhm.
along your journey. What
Yeah.
relationship did you have with yourself first, and then with others along your journey?
I it's been different at different points.
Hmm.
You know, I've had points when I've been traveling where I've been in a relationship, it's either been a good relationship and we learned a lot about each other on those trips.
Yeah.
I've also been in harmful relationships traveling, and it's being in that space is kind of opened up, like, actually, okay, what do I want to go home to? You know,
Yeah.
what kind of life do I want to continue to lead? I've had other points where I've traveled by myself, you know, and I felt really lonely, and I was partying a lot, and I was like, you know, just really trying to run away, you
Yeah.
know. And I have other points where I've gone traveling alone and I was really running towards something.
Mm-hmm.
And so I always, like, because I had my cousin one time asking me, you know, I want to go travel to this place and that place, and I just say, you know, well, what's your intention?
Yeah.
You know, are you trying to run away from something, or are you running towards something?
Yeah. Let's talk about it. Let's have a therapy session. For the longest, I feel like I was running away from something,
Yeah,
and then now, more in like the recent 2 3 years, me being closer to 30, I'm now running towards something. I
yeah,
feel like. I don't know what it was that I was running away from, but I just know that I was a runner. I was not the best in relationships. Anything happens, I feel like I just summed up to personally. I felt like I was not man. Like a man sees things through. A man handles what he has to handle, no matter what. I'm just like, look, this shit got hard. I'm gone. Peace, bye. And that's
yeah,
not no way to act, especially as a man in this world. So I
yeah.
understand the whole running away and running towards something all too well. All too
That's
well.
it. Yeah. I mean, I just kept running and running and running. I spent a long period of my life just running away. And the thing is, when you travel and you try and run away from something, it will always catch up to you.
Yeah.
Like, you always bring yourself wherever you go.
Hmm.
And so no matter where you run, you will still bring yourself with you, you know.
Yes.
And that's sometimes a hard, like, fact to face, because I'd move here and be like, why aren't things different? Why am I ending up in the same type of relationships? Why am I doing the same type of thing? And it took a while to kind of uncover, like, actually, the best thing I can do is just work on myself.
Hmm. Yeah, no, for sure. That's about to be a soundbite because, girl, you ain't lying. You are not lying. I want to say thank you publicly and privately because you
Mm,
had introduced me to Sammy B. I had interviewed
yay.
her. She's been on the show. And one thing that we talked about across our conversation is sobriety.
Hmm.
And I know that you have been in sobriety for how long now?
3 years, 2 weeks, I'll be 4 years.
Okay. All right.
Thank
Congratulations.
you.
Congratulations.
Appreciate
Um,
it.
I want to dive deep into that because I feel like a lot of individuals can learn from your journey, only if you're comfortable
Yeah,
enough about
of
talking about it, of
course.
course. I want to go step by step the journey to how it began, the recovery process, and then how you maintain. So let's start with how did it begin? What specifically
Okay.
were you doing, and how does one get to that point where a substance can
Okay.
overtake them?
Yeah, I mean, like, at the time, I just thought I was that kind of classic party girl. You know, I didn't really see it as a problem. I was
Yeah.
going out. It's like, you know, that song Roxanne, where it's like she just, like, uses her daddy's money, and, you know, it's like Whole Foods and cocaine. I just thought
Yeah.
I thought I was in this, like, I'm just a party. I'm just having fun, and then it stopped being fun.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't understand recovery, like, what addiction actually means. I didn't understand that it was about people, place, and things. I didn't understand that there was deeper stuff there at the time. I was just focusing on getting the next one.
Yeah.
You know, all I wanted to do was get high. So I just kept using. COVID happened, you know, and it was this perfect opportunity. I'm sure it was for a lot of people, you know,
Yeah.
well, now no one has to see what I'm doing. And I really hit a rock bottom.
Hmm.
You know, I hit a point where, um, well, what would become the first of many rock bottoms, really. But I had a therapist say, like, you're either going to die from the drugs or you're going to die from the withdrawal.
Yeah.
And that was this point where I was like, okay, well, that I heard that in that moment,
Yeah.
and I tried to withdraw. Came back here, started using again. Thought I moved again. Thought, okay, well,
Yeah.
if I move, things will be different. Started using again, and I'd kind of, you know, I think everyone's recovery journey is their own. Like, I don't promote any kind of specific recovery
Yeah.
format, because that's very personal. But what I chose was about community, you
Hmm.
know, because what I realized, the thing with addiction is I was so scared of being alone and living in self-centered fear
Yeah.
that I isolated myself from everyone around me, you know, and got to a point where I just didn't even recognize myself when I looked in the mirror.
Mhm.
And so it's been this kind of journey of like working through all that stuff. Like, what am I so afraid about? You
Yeah.
know, why am I so afraid of myself? Why am I so afraid of the world around me? Why am I so afraid of relationships? Why am I afraid of other women? Or why am I, you know, like, what is that about?
Yeah.
And so, and doing that in community, you know, in like loving community, because oftentimes, like, we think no one loves us or like we're going to be alone forever. And there is community, you know.
Yes.
So it's been up and down. Recovery, at least for me, has been messy, and sometimes I can't see the wood from the trees.
Mhm.
But it's the most beautiful gift I could have ever given myself.
What was it exactly then? I know you were saying like it might be another one, might be this. Like, what do you think that was? Because I found out that a lot of ways that I acted out in relationships was because it was more about self love. I didn't love me enough.
Yeah,
And it's hard to love somebody else adequately, like when you don't even love yourself
absolutely.
or don't
Yeah.
even know how to properly love yourself. Like, I've always had a big heart, always been a big romantic, always been those things. And I think universally, I think I had somebody ask me this. They was like, what would something that all of your exes would agree on?" And I was
That's a good
like,
question.
all of the exes would agree that it was great until it wasn't. And the young lady was like, "Damn, that's actually fake scary." I'm like, "Yeah, it scares me just fucking hearing it."
Yeah.
Because it's true. Because I will give you the world, wine and dine, da 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 da, but then I just would not know how to properly love adequately for the longest duration because I didn't know how to love me.
Yeah.
So, what is it specifically in regards to that where you are not necessarily challenged from the next person, challenged from the one, whatever it may be, but what do you think it was for you?
In relationships,
Yeah.
I think, well, I think you're right. I didn't know how to love me. I think
Hmm.
that's really the deeper stuff is I didn't know, and that's an evolving process as well, right? Like I can love myself one day and then I can struggle to love myself the next day.
Yeah.
You know, it's
Yeah.
not a destination like, okay, I love myself now.
Yeah.
We're done. Like the work's over. Like we're
Boom.
better. We're good.
Officially love me,
Yeah,
bitches.
that's
Like, it
it.
don't
You know,
work.
and people have this idea in their head like, okay, well, if I just do this, like X, Y, and Z, I'll get there.
Yeah.
Or if I just buy this, 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 and like I'll get to this destination.
You know, I listen.
And it just doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes, you know, you're able to. Sometimes I've been able to let go of situations. Um, because that for me in relationships the struggle is like when to let go.
Mm-hmm.
um, I'll hold on for a long period of
So you're holding on
time.
for dear life.
Hold on for dear life, yeah. And because yeah, and that's something that I'm still kind of like working on and processing and wondering like what is that about.
Yeah.
But that's what I mean. It's like I'm it's the work will never end.
Yes.
No, um and then I have other times where it is like the super messy route and I just have to go through it. And you know, as long as I don't pick up and I allow myself to go through the feelings, sometimes you just need more information.
Yeah.
And that's okay. Like have a bit of grace with yourself. Recovery and living life on life's terms without the use of any substance is really hard, you know?
Yeah.
Like and the world is complicated and messy. So
It is. It is.
like,
So circling back, you started. You say you're using, and then after the rock bottom, what were the steps taken to say, "Hey, I wanted to get back sober," and correct the rock bottom was
mhm.
what was the rock bottom? I guess I should
I
ask.
think my ultimate rock bottom is I had returned to the UK. I went back to kind of an old relationship that was
Toxic.
it was toxic. Yeah, it was toxic and I don't, you know, we did our best with what we had.
Hmm.
You know, there's no like he's toxic or he's this.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah. Yeah.
no, you know, we did the best at
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
point. And uh but I went back out of jealousy, and I think that's the one of the most powerful drugs that people can have.
Yeah.
Um and I remember I was sitting, I'd just gotten this new apartment in the UK. I'd gotten a job, and I drank like a whole bottle of wine by myself. And it wasn't even, I just remember sitting there after that was over
Yeah.
and just thinking, like, it was just this, I'm done, you know, because I was
Mhm.
young, you know, I got clean at 26. So I probably could have done this. People don't get into recovery sometimes till later. I mean,
Yeah.
no, Sammy, like, I mean, we're lucky,
Yes.
you know, we're really, really lucky that I just had that point. I mean, for me, it's still like a daily thing, and God forbid, like I ever use again. But I had just reached this point, and I think sometimes people think, oh, well, it has to be this like needles in my arm and this like
Yeah.
last hurrah and this and that. I'm like, I've had so many situations that people might assume was like a rock bottom,
Mhm.
but it wasn't the rock bottom for me. Like you have to come to that own point.
Yeah, and I think that's like a universal thing, not only just in individuals who may be addicted to whatever it may be, but
Mm,
just in life.
yeah,
You internally have to say no mas.
yeah,
You
yeah.
internally have to say, you know what? I'm done.
I surrender.
I am
Yeah,
done. And that's something that I had to take the steps with myself and be like, you know what, bro? You can change these actions.
yeah.
Like, you don't gotta be the ain't shit, the this, the cheater, the da 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 da. You
No,
don't gotta do those things. You don't have to take those actions. Like, you don't have to do that. You can
no.
thoroughly do the right thing. It's up to you. And that's when the whole evolution of Elijah today has come about,
Mm,
because I'm like, nobody is benefiting from this side, from this
yeah,
individual. So I need to change not only my actions, my ways, but everything else that comes along with that.
absolutely.
Like, I think that's the most important thing that I just had to come to that conclusion,
Yeah,
is that you yourself have to say enough is enough. Yeah.
yeah. With everything, yeah,
Yeah.
like you said, with everything, you have to just get to a point, and that's a huge part of recovery is an act of like making a decision that I'm letting this go. Like
Mhm.
I'm letting it go because it's no longer serving me and it's not good for my spirit, you
Yes.
know.
No, for sure. So, rock bottom, what
Mhm.
steps was taken to actually come clean? I know Sammy mentioned 12 steps. I know she mentioned going to rehab in Florida. So, what steps did you take for your journey to
Yeah.
get on that path of becoming clean?
I mean, I'd seen like a long-term therapist. I actually didn't know she was an addiction specialist.
Okay.
So she was kind of messing around with like different kind of recovery there's a lot of like hip sobriety and this and
Hmm.
that, but it just wasn't like my thing.
Yeah.
And
How did you come across finding an individual like that?
my therapist, my
Yeah.
parents,
Okay.
my parents knew things were getting a little
Yeah.
dicey. So and I'd seen her for years, and very fortunate, you know, to have that. Uh, but we just never know who's going to be that person that plants that seed. You know, I mean, she worked with me for
Hmm.
years before she was finally able to say, actually, Megan, I think you're struggling with addiction. Like,
Yeah.
maybe we should um, take take a look at this.
Say something.
Uh,
It's giving.
yeah, and I was supposed to be going to rehab, um, and it was going to cost too much money. You know, I hadn't told my parents that I was
Yeah.
using as much as I was. Like it costs thousands of dollars a day to go to rehabs in America.
Yeah.
So I tried out 12 steps, you know, and that's what's worked for me,
Yeah.
you know.
What exactly is 12 steps? That's something I didn't ask Sammy. What exactly is 12 steps?
Yeah, so they are 12, well, they're 12 steps
Hmm.
that kind of, they're perfectly done in a way, like I don't want to repeat it so it comes out of what program I'm in, because I
Yeah.
don't want that to be on
Yeah.
the show. But the they're in an order for a reason, and the
Hmm.
kind of end is kind of a spiritual awakening. You keep what you kind of give away what you've been given. So you go through a process of learning when to you know, how to surrender, and developing your spirituality,
Yeah.
and understanding maybe your resentments and the harm you've caused other people, and it's a step-by-step process that kind of,
Each individual unique goal is a part of the journey,
yeah,
step by
so
step.
you step by step, and you're kind of, you're like, I think instead of like it's going towards freedom,
Yeah.
as trying to lighten that load. I don't think oftentimes people realize like how much we're actually carrying.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's not the big stuff, it's just like a hell of a lot of the little stuff. And learning to like just get that out on paper and share it,
Yeah.
and going through that process. I remember one time, right? Like I just shared out all this pain that I've been holding. And I mean, it was hundreds of resentments that I had towards other people. I didn't even
Yeah.
realize I had hundreds of resentments towards other people, but I had hundreds of
Say, I had a hit
resentments.
list and didn't
I had
know.
a hit list. This is how I get canceled. No, but yeah, I had hundreds. And I remember I read all of that out and I went to go to this beach in Mexico, and it was the first time I sat on this beach by myself, and I literally felt lighter.
Yeah.
I felt like physically lighter because all of that shit, I didn't have to hide from it anymore. I
Yeah.
didn't have to run anymore. I'd kept all this stuff built in. Like, I hate this person for this, and I had lied about this, and I hate myself for this. And,
Yeah.
like,
Do you express yourself? Sammy's a rapper, obviously,
yeah.
poet as well. Do you express yourself any ways, any hidden talents that you
Nah, I mean,
get?
like, say, I'll leave the creative side of Sammy. And we've talked about this before. A lot of my, throughout my recovery, I did a lot of like,
Mhm.
a lot of cycling and
Oh
a
yeah.
lot of training. So that's been more of my kind of outlet to process things out, and movement's been more of my way of dealing with trauma.
Yeah. Yeah. I was gonna say we could definitely jump into that. I have written in my notes that you biked from. I'm sure we're gonna pronounce it terribly. What is it? Edinburgh?
Edinburgh.
Yeah, Edinburgh to London.
Edinburgh to London.
Edinburgh
So
to London. It's 450 miles.
yeah.
Girl.
Yeah.
Are you okay?
Yeah, and that was right. We got reports that it was gonna be like the biggest storm across the UK right before that was happening, and I was supposed to be at an event the following week, so I had to go at that time.
Yeah.
And I did it for charity as well, so I was like, I felt like
Okay,
I had
I was gonna
to.
say to just
Yeah,
do
no,
450 miles
I
for
raised
fun.
a couple of £1,000 for a rehab for women,
Okay,
and they're creating a rehabilitation center in South Africa as well. So
that's a
it's kind
very
of
good
developing.
cause.
Yeah, it was a very good cause.
For the individual listener,
Yeah.
biking 450 miles. I live in DC. I drive from DC, Washington, DC to Newburgh, New York, which is about, I want to say either 200 or 400 miles. Like that's the equivalent
Yeah.
of that. Either DC and back twice or just one way. You bike that.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
What was the terrain like? What was the
It was
weather like? Like
hectic. The first day, it was maybe 50-mile-per-hour winds going straight
damn.
into my face. And I mean, you're going through these rolling mountains. I was just happy that it wasn't raining. I was just like,
Yeah.
okay, at least I can just push through. I was so shot by the time I got to this first town. And day 2, I think I went through the Pennine Mountains, which is a huge mountain range in England.
Yeah.
And it was torrential downpour from the moment I left. I would leave at maybe 3 o'clock in the morning, so I would cycle through the dark. And I will never forget being in this. Like, they have these mountain, like, little, I guess they're for, like, little ladies, like, waiting for the bus and stuff.
Yeah.
So I'd be hiding in there, and I just had all my layers on. I was just completely soaked through, and I was like, I was in SOS mode on my phone. I couldn't. It was horrible.
Had you second guessing life, like where the hell did I done out
I
here on
know,
this goddamn bike?
but I like packed some eye masks with me, and I remember I was sitting in this hotel, the eye mask, and I had this huge pizza, and that's like those are the moments that make it worth it,
Yeah.
because you've worked so hard, and you've actually like you did something,
Yeah.
that like
I'm glad that you mentioned working so hard because I was gonna ask what training does it take to get to that point?
yeah.
Because anybody cannot just jump on a bike and ride 450 miles.
Yeah.
You cannot. So take us through the steps in the journey. It's your move as
Yeah.
well. Take us through the
It's my
steps in the
turn.
journey of
Alright.
what it takes to get into the bike.
Um,
Able to bike 450 miles. It's
450
crazy.
miles. It's, and I'm glad we talked about the recovery stuff as well, because
Yeah.
to be honest, I think a lot of it, man, you're going to take mine. You're going to take mine anyways.
I'm glad you know it.
Yeah, it talks about the recovery stuff because I think as much as, I mean, for cycling that distance, I was cycling a lot. So when I cycled I was always cycling to meetings. I was always just always cycling. And at the weekend, I started to doing longer distances. So I would maybe do 50 miles, 60 miles, 70 miles, 80 miles, just keep going. But a big part of it is the mental game, right? Because your mental will, that'll get shot before your body will. Like, your body can just keep going, much further than you can ever, imagine it could possibly go.
Yeah, you have to, I've always been preached to that it's the mental more than anything else.
Yeah.
1000% it is the mental.
Yeah, so, I think that was what I was most impressed about, was that my mind didn't give up.
Has that been the longest one thus far that you ever?
So that was in terms of distance by myself, maybe the longest. After that, I cycled through the Trossach Mountains, through Loch Lomond, and that was 223 miles, but I did that in a 24-hour period.
Oh, okay. So that was up tempo then.
That was the yeah.
He's like,
but you just keep going. Your body just doesn't. It can just go.
I was running back in college, and I was just like, a lot of people were like, yeah, you're a running back. You like to run. I'm like, bro, I can't stand to run. I hate running, actually. Short bursts is all you get from me. That's it. Short bursts, and then we get 45 seconds clock. We're good to go. So, but I applaud you. I'm definitely in a big ups to you, because I'm like, girl, that could never be me. I can never be me.
Yeah, but I'm also not a runner.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy. Did you have to lift a lot of weights? Did it just literally just have to do long runs? What else did it entail to actually prepare for stuff like that?
I mean, I've always tried to stay in good shape, you know, so I was already training quite hard in general. What I was kind of doing at the time was 2 days of spin class, heavy spin class, 2 days of hot yoga to make sure your muscles are kind of on point. Yeah. I was still doing like quite a bit of CrossFit in the evenings, which is controversial in general, but
Yes, it is.
I just wanted to be as physically fit as I possibly could be, and I think that requires a more holistic approach. Like, you can't just be like,
Yeah.
I mean, cyclists that are really, really phenomenal at cycling are just going to cycle pretty much. They might do
Yes.
one day of upper body, but like all they're going to do is cycle.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense.
Yeah.
You could literally practice by just cycling.
Yeah, you just get better. I think because you're doing ultra endurance training, you just you need to be strong enough so that if you're caught in a snowstorm, your body is able to look after itself.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah, you gotta be able to.
I don't have a team behind me. I don't have anyone trying, if I've got to fix my bike in the middle of a rainstorm. And I mean, I had some points where my clips would fall off. I'd fall off my bike. I mean, it was just, some days were just hectic.
I'm just like, how does the one just set out to just torture themselves? That's what I'm trying to figure out. Are you still into it heavily now, or have you taken a step back now that you're back in the States, or where are you at on that?
So I definitely want to do a big trip this summer. Okay. So I'm kind of in the preparing phase. I like to do a smaller trip kind of over my spring break at grad school. So I have been getting back on my indoor bike. So we have a proper carbon fiber bike in our bathroom set up. So I've been training again and just trying to get that kind of general fitness back. So I'm hoping by then I'll be able to do something, because I'd love to go across cross country, see what America's all about. But
that'd be pretty dope. I've seen the highways. It is your turn. I'm threatening your queen, by the way. But no, I've seen the U.S. up close, and it's pretty cool. It is pretty cool, pretty beautiful out there. That's what you're doing?
That's what I'm doing.
I'll take her then.
Oh, shit.
I told you. I'm threatening your queen.
Oh, no.
Yeah. this thing popping now. Let's get her done. Who taught you how to play chess?
You did.
Nah.
No, my dad did.
I
My
was gonna
dad.
say, nah.
Actually, I started to self-teach.
Yeah?
Yeah, I was using those little app things.
I was gonna say, chess.com is definitely a good app. It is definitely a good one. You can't
I
move
was just
that.
getting annoyed. Like, I kept trying to play Santa. It was like Christmas time, and you had to play Santa or the elves, and Santa was saying some
Yeah.
ratchet stuff to me. Like,
Yeah. They talk a lot of ish on these things. I ain't
Santa
gonna
talks a
lie.
lot of shit. Yeah.
Santa does not play around.
No, we don't.
What is next for yourself, though?
What's next? No, I'm gonna stay here. No, I'm
Yeah, I was
not.
gonna say, sure.
Oh my God.
What is next? You mentioned that you were in school. What are you in school studying?
Clinical social work.
Okay, what you trying to do with it?
Get a job. No, I'm just kidding.
To make money.
To make some money. Nah, you know, for me, like, my work has always been to be of service to community.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the community has brought me back to life.
Yeah.
You know, and so it's my obligation to be of service to my community. And so my work has never really been about, I mean, of course, I want to get a paycheck, but I
Yeah.
always feel like I'll be provided for as long as I'm trying to
Mm-hmm.
do the next right thing and be of service, you know. So
Yeah, as of to say, Muhammad Ali has a saying about service that a friend of mine, Ali T. Mohammed, told me about, and I like it as well. I think he was saying like his service to others is like what we're here for, essentially,
yeah,
like paraphrasing. But I encourage you to look up
yeah, no, I
that
will.
quote.
It's beautiful.
But that's pretty dope. Where does the love of community come from? You can't move that piece just a heads up.
I think really from my family. You know, I grew up with parents who always prioritize being of service. You know, they're the ones that got me into traveling, see the world, like see how big, like beautiful it is, and always just wanted to like be love and like be love in the world.
Yeah,
And so I grew up with that kind of mindset. Like, that's just what you do. You
yeah,
know, you try to become love and you try to express love and you try to take love. And like, that's all we have in life.
yeah,
And so, and I've had points where when I was using, like, I didn't give a shit about love. I didn't give a shit about community. I didn't
yeah,
care. And so, but being loved back to life and then going through the process of a 12-step program where now I keep what I have by giving it away to other people,
mm-hmm.
I see it like it's like a full circle moment, you
Yeah,
know?
I've literally have found that in my own journey in this life that the more that I give, the more that I get.
Yeah.
And it doesn't necessarily always have to be like an economic exchange of value, meaning money.
Mm-hmm.
It could just be like my time. It could be my service. It could just be, I try to do like one little thing a day where I just give back, whether it be picking up an old lady's groceries or
Yeah.
holding the door, whatever it may be, because I just feel like that one good deed a day just helps. And it doesn't
And
necessarily have to
people
help
get
me.
so hyped when you open the door, keep the door open for them. Like,
For
it's really
real.
not that.
It's the little things too. Like I'll never forget.
Yeah.
I was in Maryland, at the Target Center, and it was an older woman. She was coming out of her car. She had to go get her walker from the back. She was driving. I was like, "Do you need help, ma'am?" She was like, "Thank you, baby." I was like, "It's not a problem. Like
Yeah.
it's just the little stuff because I'm like I would want that done for me when I'm that age." Like,
Yeah. I mean, that definitely has, because I love doing that too. You know, there's people, you know, struggling with their suitcase stuff. Some people are ticket, and some people are like,
yeah.
I'll probably end up being like one of those women that's like, no, 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 I'm good, I'm good.
Yeah, and it's so funny because even for her, she was a little reluctant where it was just like, "You sure, ma'am?" Like I had to be like, "You sure now, young lady?" She was like, "You can come on help me." So I was like, "Thank you." But no, that's pretty cool. Are you into politics at all?
Yeah, I have to be really for my work, like, you know, like what I'm studying, you have to
Yeah.
be kind of into politics, but
Why so? I thought does it go hand in hand? I don't know. Educate me.
yeah, I
Go
mean,
ahead.
doesn't have to be if you don't want it to be, but
You took an interest to it. You
I think if you're working with people
yeah.
and you care about social justice,
Hmm. You have to obviously pay attention to the social
there has,
justice of the world.
yeah, you have to be kind of clocking what's going on in the world.
Yeah. What has been, and again, this is only if you're comfortable enough speaking about it.
Yeah.
What has been your personal thoughts on the political climate of America,
It's crazy.
especially because you've lived in other countries?
I mean, the UK is not that much different, like the UK is quite conservative, and like Scotland, luckily where I was at was pretty. I have to be very careful with my words when I'm talking politics.
I mean, look.
They were just a little more.
Well, to be fair, I'm not big into politics, so I'm not one of those that we're
Yeah.
about to get into a whole debate. I promise you, we're
Nah,
not.
I mean, like Scotland was just a little bit less conservative than England, and so it just felt you felt a little
Conservative
sheltered.
meaning what? Because I'm one of them individuals that's real ignorant when it comes to political issues. What does conservative mean?
I mean, conservative, like economically.
Meaning
blah,
they
blah,
had
blah,
more money or they
no.
didn't have a lot of money?
It's just the way that they're like. How do I explain
Just
this?
say it, girl.
Like it's more. I think when you're more the more conservative side was more kind of like trying to make sure the wealthy stay wealthy and the poor stay
okay.
poor, and so there's kind of this dynamic about like taxation, things like that, and they were very they're much more against kind of immigration. And look, for me, my political beliefs is very much in line with my recovery. Like I just want to practice spiritual principles, and I try to align my politics with spiritual principles that I practice.
Yeah.
Honesty, open-mindedness, willingness, like non-judgmental, compassionate. As long as my politics are in line with that,
Yeah.
then
I think
right.
my only political view on top of not
My
having
turn?
a political view, yeah, it's your turn, is that I expect people to always act like people. And most of the time people act in what's in their best interest and in their community's best interest. So that's something that I expect across the board. I expect any ethnicity to go to bat for their own ethnicity. And that's just something that I'm just like, why are we acting like this is like new? Like people go to bat and fight for what they personally believe in. So I think that's the only political view that I have that I'm just like, you're in check. I'm just like, it only makes sense. Like, why are we? My biggest gripe is when you can't move there because then you put yourself in check.
You double checked me.
Yeah. Well, it's not double check; it's single check now. But that's the only thing. My only problem and gripe is when somebody tries to go to bat for my specific ethnic group, and then it's a problem with everybody else. That's the only problem I have. I'm like, let's all be fair across the board.
Yeah, and
I'm gonna capture.
And we live in a world where people, a lot, like, I feel very grateful that I have a personal program in, like, a way that I view, like, I have to for my life. My life depends on me viewing the world in a specific way.
Yeah.
That is loving and caring.
What's your first ever executive order if you become president?
Love your neighbor as yourself. No.
You can leave that for Sunday. This executive order is being signed on a Friday.
I'm just kidding. What would my executive order be? I don't know. I'd probably go real European in America. If I was the president, I would be like, right, I'd make sure that, like, we didn't have to work that many hours. Y'all work so much. It's like this. It's just like it's like a big ball of stress here,
Yeah.
Like the healthcare
Who
system,
you
all
telling?
that. I'm like, bro, like it just doesn't have to be this complicated.
Yeah, I think that would be mine. Would be like the free healthcare, knowing that other countries
Yeah.
and places have like just walk in and you could take care of. I think that would be my first one. Because a
Yeah.
lot of people, it doesn't matter what your color is, they won't go because they know they can't afford that thousand gazillion dollar bill.
Yeah.
So that would be the first thing. It's like, yo, health is really wealth. Go get your
Yeah.
shit go get that toe taken care of, that pinky, that's good. I mean, how people feet be sitting on top of each other and shit. I'm like,
Yeah.
yo, get that shit taken care of, man, because that's crazy. I think that'd be the first ever one that I would sign for sure. I'm like, yo, you need some health care up in here.
Yeah.
We need some health care up in here, man. It's just crazy.
Yeah.
Mm-mm-mm.
My go.
Yeah, sure go.
Mm,
What was your upbringing like? As an individual who's battled so many things, traveled the world, what has your upbringing been
yeah.
like?
I have really loving parents, and my parents have always supported me to just be me. I mean, every family has their stuff,
Of course.
right? And but my parents are just kind,
Yeah.
you know? And I think sometimes I struggle with that because I didn't feel really able to take their kindness or take their love because I didn't really like we talked about before, like I didn't really love myself.
Yeah.
And so it always like that tension between the two of like them trying to just so love and me like not feeling like I deserve it.
Yeah.
Um and then, I ran away from my family from 18 to I just kind of left.
Mm.
And now coming home, it's been this like, okay, well, what does our relationship look like?
Yeah.
What does family mean?
How long was the duration you were away? From 18 to what?
18. Well, I'm 30 now, so I was away from 18 to 19.
Mm.
18 to 29.
18 to 29.
Yeah.
Any specific reason for the left, or it was just you, like most of us, think we grown and we could do it on our own?
A little bit of that, yeah.
How much were you humbled? Because I was humbled. I was humbled fast. I was like, yo, auntie, I'm going to
Yeah.
live with my girl. We getting married. Ain't none of that shit happen. She was like, you be back.
Yeah.
Love you. I see you when your ass get back here. And that happened pretty fast. I was
Yeah.
like, hey, can
Yeah.
I come home?
Yeah, I mean, I can't believe I lived overseas for so long, but I mean, they
Yeah.
had to bail me out of a lot of situations, like, and I'll always,
No.
I have to remain grateful that I had parents who were there for me and supported me through everything. I mean,
Yeah.
we didn't really talk about like they're still quite quiet, closed off. My mom's 70, like they
Mm.
came from a different generation,
Of
and
course, yeah.
so, but it's beautiful to see us just trying,
Yeah.
trying to because there's a huge gap between us. I'm 30 and my mom's 70. It's a lot of years of like
Yeah. She
differences
literally
and
knows a different world.
yeah, she knows a
Literally.
different world. Yeah. So, uh, but yeah, my dad's my best friend, like we're
Yeah.
just,
You're the same.
yeah, we're the same. Um,
That's pretty dope. That's always dope to get to experience that. I feel like all kids misunderstand their parents, and it's not till they get our age where it's not we don't necessarily have to be super duper old, but we just understand now. Like
yeah,
they did what they did because that's what they knew the best of their ability. They did it with love and care and with the tools that was in their tool belt. And hopefully, just like ourselves and our younger kids or powers to be, they'll learn to be even better than us
yeah,
because technology, right? We have that. We get to grow up with it. We get to use it a lot more than when they had it. So I just feel like the biggest thing that I learned about old folks, like what I call them,
I'm
is
over
that
here.
to just give them a little bit of grace.
Yeah,
I learned to give them grace, but never an excuse. Just two different things.
mm, I like that.
Excusing them is, I feel like, succumbing to, oh, because I said so, oh, because it was done this way.
No, we
No.
should never stop questioning,
Exactly. And I think that's the one thing I always say that that's the one thing I'm not going to perpetuate is
Mm,
that the my son or daughter, future son and daughter is asking me a question and it's just because I said so. Nah, I think we should answer. I feel like my parents, my uh, guardian should have answered just the unique questions that I had because it's just
yeah,
more just inquisitive more than anything. And I feel like it stops a learning. I don't know why. I just feel like it stops a point in time of learning.
yeah.
So I feel like
Oh,
I'm still gonna beat the
absolutely.
kids though. I'll let them know.
I mean, that's what I was talking about yesterday. You know, just especially when we're building kind of like young men, young women, it's like
Hmm.
how do you create the next generation that is like if you don't question, then you're never gonna really
Exactly. You're just
w-
gonna say, "Oh, because they said so," and I'm like,
yeah.
"Nah."
And that's what I was saying is like I don't think when I was growing up I ever had like the I didn't even think my parents would answer the question like what kind of man should I be dating, you know, or
Yeah,
like what like
yeah,
you know what I mean?
yes. And I think, and obviously I can't speak for you, but I think that's what like causes. It doesn't necessarily cause a problem, but I feel like that helps assist in the problem
Yeah.
because if mom and dad and I don't have the gut dialogue to say this is what a man does, this is what a woman does, this is what da 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 da,
Yeah.
I have to go now seek that, and my own experiences is going to shape what a man should be doing. So prime example, I'll never forget. I interviewed this young lady. Shout out to Zamira in Salt Lake City, Utah. I said that I'm gonna beat my kids, and she was like,
Mm,
"Okay, why are you beating your kids?" And I was like, "I'm not gonna beat them, just because it has to be a legit reason. If you're a class clown, that's just a stern talking to. But if she come up here disrespect me, my wife, my daughter, da 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 da, da, she get an ass whooping. I
mm,
got beat. It's okay to get beat." She said, "You beat them because you love them, right?" I was like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's what they say to black people. You beat them because you love them."
mm.
She's like, "Now what happens when your daughter goes away? She meets this boy, and he beats her because he loves her." And I was like, "Damn." I was like, "Girl, you got me." And she's right.
Yeah.
She is right. That's why it's important to have those dialogues in the house.
Yeah.
Like our parents is our first teachers, really our lifelong
But I
teachers.
realized they got taught by the other generation. You know, I mean, my mom always would say that like my grandpa, my grandma like would never she never saw them argue.
Yeah.
Like they would always if they had an argument it would always be behind closed doors, never show that you can have healthy arguments
Mm-hmm.
and to show all different types of emotions. Like it was always happy and smiling and
Yeah.
you know, it's very white picket fence and so and that's been passed down where like I always have to feel like how do I make sure everything's okay all the time for everybody?
Yeah.
And that's not healthy.
That's
Like
not
I
that's
can't
not even fair to
that's
you.
not even possible.
That's not even fair to you
No,
because it's just like it doesn't exist.
it doesn't, you
It
know.
does not exist. Period. So you trying to get me. Oh, you done messed up.
We're on the attack.
You done messed up.
Now you're on the attack, aren't you?
Yeah. Still in check.
Oh my god.
Think you only got one move. There you go. I'm gonna go here.
Hmm.
But yeah, what other things are you not going to what things are you going to pass down and continue on, or what are some things that you're not going to continue on, family
Um,
tradition wise?
family tradition wise,
Yeah,
uh,
I'm gonna go here.
I think what I would definitely pass on is a sense of adventure and valuing travel. You know,
Yeah.
that my parents didn't care about having the big house and the cars and then this and
Mm-hmm.
the that. Like they spent their money
Experience.
on experiences and going traveling and you know like that's always going to enrich your life. Like the house is like
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know,
yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, it's not
Trust me.
that just locks you in, right?
Yeah.
uh,
I be trying to tell people. I be trying
so
to tell people.
I think, but I think what I would let go of would be maybe just not having like open conversations.
Hmm.
I think I want to raise a family where it's a house where like there's no fear about
Yeah,
like come to me with anything you've got. You know, there's no judgment if you have lit someone's house on fire like
yeah,
because I think we get so afraid that we go from 0 to 100. Like, if I tell you this, that you're going to leave me and I'll never see you again, and that's it.
Yeah.
You know, like, our brains are so irrational that they'll just go in all these twisted directions. And I think I just want to, because my parents were a bit more religious, I think I grew up in this, like, God-fearing
Yeah.
early on, which they weren't even like that. But I had this thing that, okay, well, if I tell them this, then this is going to happen. And
Yeah. It has to be a safe space fostered at the home.
yeah.
And I think that in today's world, especially with technology readily available, my
Yeah.
nieces and nephews know so much of what's going on, can see somebody's head decapitated on Facebook, can see porn on motherfucking Twitter, can see da 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 da, all this shit that I don't want my baby girl exposed to. My niece, that's the reason why I inhale and exhale, who's turning 16 next year.
Oh my goodness.
Like, all the shit that I
Good
don't want her
luck.
exposed to, she's already seen.
Yeah.
And that's so I think that we have to foster that at the house to say, hey, look, come and talk to me.
Yeah.
Come talk to me. You don't need to be loved by any man. You don't need to be this, that, and the third. You don't need come and talk to this family unit right here. But we have to foster that at the house. If she
Yeah.
can't talk to me, then that means she's gonna be trying to find that in somebody else, and that is where we already lose. That's where everybody loses at, when your child, son, whoever the f is going to look for you and somebody else.
Because that's what I'd say, you know, you try to first find it in a man, the man's going to leave. And then
Mhm.
after that, you know, finding it in a drink or drugs or something that I just want to feel that warm, like,
Yeah.
accepted, feeling okay. But you have to find that within yourself, you know,
Yeah.
and you have to be able to even create that environment in the first place. And I
Yeah.
guess that's where I'm just trying to stay focused and, like, lock in, is just that creating a safe space within me.
For sure. I have 3 personal questions. One, how does an individual woman travel safely in today's world? I met a young lady who she goes to Carnival. That's where they dress up with the feathers and all of that.
Yeah.
She travels the world doing that to all of the carnivals.
That's sick.
Young petite woman. I'm just like, girl, you're 5'0" How does a woman travel safely in today's world?
I think you really need to understand where you're traveling,
Mm-hmm.
and have a basic kind of basic safety precautions. Like,
Yeah.
no situation is going to be perfect. Like, things can happen everywhere, and they can happen when you're not expecting it. But if you've at least I had an incident in Guatemala, and it wasn't because I was traveling on the bus alone. It wasn't anything. I was at a party.
Yeah.
And I wasn't looking at my surroundings, and I was using drugs. I was partying. I was, like, hanging out with a guy outside in, like, this area that I shouldn't have been at, you know. And then you'd hear all the time, like, if you go to this party, like, people are going to start throwing out guns. And it's like, it's just, they know there's people who are vulnerable, who are using, like. And so be aware of your surroundings, like, be around local people. Always try to, like, be with someone that you've maybe developed a friendship with or something, and go and do stuff with them. I've had points where I've had, like, pepper spray with me, or I've, like, carried different things. Like, just try to, like, be humble. Don't wear flashy stuff, you know, like, don't go out. If you're traveling, don't wear the Rolex watch. Don't use your Louis Vuitton bag. Use your worst bag that's torn up to shit.
Yeah.
And, like, just try not to, you know, look like a target. Because especially when you're traveling to really poor places, you know, like, they just want what you got, you know?
Yeah, trust me,
That's
I get
it.
it. The other question I had is, what does peace look like for you?
What does peace look like for me?
Yeah,
Oh, what does peace look like or feel like?
both.
Peace, I feel like the feeling is a lot easier, and only because I know, like, for example, today I was with my friends, and this girl, right, she hugged me so hard, and we just hugged each other for, I don't know, it just felt like 5 minutes, you know. We're just like she's just my girl, and I felt peace. You know, like when someone just embraces you in that type of way. Or this morning, I was just like, had my quiet time, and I just felt like, I guess safety, you know, feeling safe is peace for me. And what it looks like,
So I'm still searching for the
yo,
DMs are open. I'm just like, I'm just playing.
it looks like so many different things.
Yeah.
You know, it looks like my warm bed in the morning. Sometimes it looks like watching Indiana Jones
Hey,
repeats.
there
You
you
know,
go.
sometimes you know, it's just like, and it's often not when I'm expecting it to be. Like sometimes we
Yeah.
think, oh, peace is gonna look like me being at a hot yoga class and yada yada yada. My head can still be a fucking riot when I'm at a hot yoga class. Sometimes just like being in my car, just having like a cry, you know,
Yeah.
like I just feel.
Yeah. I feel like peace for me, man.
To you check.
Peace for me, I don't even know. That's a bad move. You don't want to go there.
I don't want.
You don't want to go there.
Oh.
Coming for you now. I don't even know what peace looks like, to be honest. I don't. I know that I want to feel it.
Hell yeah.
I just don't know what it looks like. I just don't know what it looks like. I think that I work too hard to be. Since you just don't want to move it, I'll take it.
Oh my god.
I think peace can come in a lot of different shapes and sizes and forms, but I think above everything else, peace for me is just sitting still. I think that, like how we mentioned earlier on in the beginning of the conversation, I stopped running away and now I'm running towards. And that running towards has been taking me mile after mile, state to state, place to place. And I enjoy the journey, but it's getting to that point for me. Yeah, I think that, and I don't think it helps because every time I pick up my phone, literally just yesterday, my boy's son is 7 days old, a friend of mine from high school. Everybody in the burg I know has kids. Everybody in the burg has a spouse. Everybody in this, so it's just like, bro, like, the more important shit is like, life is lifing for people.
Yeah.
Life is lifing.
I mean, I think.
Can you move that one?
Yeah, move that one. I think we underestimate though that sometimes sitting still is still moving forwards.
Yeah.
You know, like we have this expectation that I have to be doing this, that, and for me to be moving in a direction, but all you have to do is sit.
Is that an American thing? As somebody who's lived in the world, like, is that an American thing? Because I feel like
America's
lot of times
touched so many countries.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
I mean, the UK maybe has a bit more of that like fast pace, kind of more capitalist. It's just like capitalist countries, you know, and it's about making money.
Then everything is hustle.
It's all about the hustle, you know, and it's different when you go to some European countries where you're like, man, you take a siesta in the afternoon, you know, like they just don't. And they literally, everything will just shut down. Like it's done. There's no shops open. You can't even go to a grocery store. It's like.
Yeah. That's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
You see me coming a mile away then, huh?
Yeah, I got no nothing.
Well, don't worry. It's about to be game now. Don't worry.
I'm worried. I'm worried. Yeah, I can't move.
I mean, you can't move that piece. You can't move that. There you go. That's checkmate. The last three, good game.
Good.
The last three questions that we ask individuals is, what is your favorite chess piece and why? We ask that you look into your camera and imagine that the entire world is watching. What advice would you give them to save them some heartache and pain? And in 2025, we're adding, you're forced to go back. I don't want to care that you wouldn't. You're forced to go back in time and change a decision that you made. What would it be and why? 2024, I did not answer. 2025, I will answer to give my guests some time to
Okay.
speak. So, favorite chess piece to the world is my queens. I say it on every single episode. I didn't take care of my queens in real life, so I had to learn to take care of them both in real life and on the chessboard. Favorite chess piece is a queen. Um, my message to the world to save you some heartache and pain today. It's been a long day. I've been doing these a lot. So, for this week, my message to the world to save you some heartache and pain is to forgive yourself. I took me the longest to forgive myself. Nobody is perfect. The last perfect person that I've ever heard of was a man by the name of Jesus. You might have heard of him. But all jokes aside, like whenever it's you versus you, then you've already lost. So please, 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 I'm begging you, forgive yourself. It took me a long time to do that, and in March of last year I did. So please forgive yourself. My message to the world is that if you don't forgive you, nobody will. Um, a decision that I would make, or a decision I would go back in time and change. I usually go hard on these, like therapy session type hard on these. Today I gave a light one though. So a decision that I would go back in time and change for this week is, let me think, man. Give you guys a good one. I would never have stepped out in a relationship. I would never have stepped out in a relationship. Stepping out, I say it on every episode whenever it comes up, is a very selfish act. Um, and the reason why is that outside of it being selfish, what I've come to realize as a 28-year-old man, no longer a boy, is that how it affects the young lady. Me stepping out does so much to a woman that is so detrimental, not only for her, but the next man that comes around to love her. And I think that's a very selfish thing. And a lot of men don't admit, don't apologize, don't do whatever, and just be trying to play the blame game. Like, what did I do? Nigga, you just gained her trust, buried yourself in her beautiful berry, laid in her bed, and then just tore her apart by, like, you fucking destroyed her whole world, my nigga. Excuse my language. But, like, yeah, like, what the fuck is we talking about? So that is a decision that I will go back in time and fix. And I think it comes down to a few things specifically for me, might be the same for yourself, individual viewer, loving yourself enough and communicating, which is why those are the things that I worked on to be the man that I am today, is to communicate, to say, hey, babe, I think I might need this, or I might need to go somewhere else.
Yeah.
Or to be man enough to say, all right, what we doing?
Yeah,
I've been
yeah,
waiting.
yeah.
What we doing? All right, what is
For
it
real,
going
for
down
real.
tonight, or do I need to wait 3 more months because I could communicate? You can just say yeah, 3 more months, and then I'm like, all right, I'm gonna wait 3 more months. Like, communicate and love yourself enough.
Yeah.
So, favorite chess piece and why to the camera. Message to the world to save them some heartache and
I
pain.
mean, I love the little horsey, but that's because I like to make the little horse sound when it's like.
Yeah. So the horse is your favorite one?
Yeah, I like to
Okay.
make the like a little gallop sound when it's.
All right. Look, listen. Whatever floats the boat.
He was mad weird. No, the
Message to the world and
message to the world to save from pain and heartache.
yeah.
This is gonna sound really annoying, but like, don't save yourself from pain and heartache. Like, it will make you who you are, you know. And I think as long as you try to learn from pain and heartache and grow from it, then it was all worth it, you know.
Yeah.
Like, pain and heartache isn't something to be avoided. Like, it's something to embrace and to try to understand and to appreciate that we even have those emotions, to be able to like grow as a person from. And I guess what I wish,
Something you would change.
something I would change.
And why?
I know I want to say like I wouldn't change anything, but I do wish I loved my mom a bit more when I was growing up. You know, that's the one thing, is like I just didn't show her as
Enough
much
affection.
love, and she's, you know, she's getting older now, and like I've spent so much time away. I just look at her and I think, man, there's been so many years like just resenting, you know, family for what?
Yeah.
For what? You know, so if you're young, like just give your mom a hug, you know, just tell her that you love her, and like deal with shit another day.
Yeah, just simple as that. Listen, young lady, I appreciate you for joining me
Thank
for Conversations
you.
Over Chess. All that shit you was talking.
Actually, you didn't whip my ass this time though.
Yeah, this
Like
is
I had a
true.
good few pieces.
I always say, what do I say? Peace. So, see you guys on the next episode of Conversations Over Chess. What do I always say? Peace.
This one for the youngin' that they told couldn't do it. All that damn shade had to shine right through it. Was lit like a bomb, they just trying to defuse it. Used to ride this wave, now they sink him like a cruise ship. Membership was struggle, every day he renew it. Yeah, they talk about it, but with him they gotta prove it. Yeah, they say they know, but they never